Hey Flick Dragons, I'm back for another video. So I'm here to hi. She just got back from a puppy walk. Hi. Oh, puppy snuggles? No, you don't want to be puppy snuggle? You don't want to snuggle me? Okay. What's the matter? So I am here. Well, we could use her. She could be a cute distraction because we're gonna talk about the worst books I read this year. Or, as I like to say, the most disappointing books of the year. Or books that just didn't work for me because I have very, very specific and unique tastes. Right, Kissy? Yes. So, we're going to go through them quickly. I'm not going to harp too much on them because I don't like harping on them. But I just like to have an assessment of like where my tastes are. And one thing I noticed about all of these books is the characters did not engage me. I didn't feel that connected to the characters, or it was either super slow paced. So yeah, let's get into it. So the first book I'm actually really upset about because it's As Good as Dead by Holly Jackson. I'm going to attach a photo here. The last book in the Good Girl's Guide to Murder series, and I loved book 1, really liked book 2, and book 3, I think they just took the character in a direction that I was not expecting, and I think that character change, if you have read the book, you know what I mean. The end of that book just really like, I didn't like it as much, and I think that I struggled a little bit. I actually started reading the physical book, and then I picked up the audiobook, and I think that it just didn't work as much. I have her new one in 2024 on her list. I didn't wind up reading her 2023 book because I did not hear the best things and kind of the similar critiques about the characters. I'm very much a character-led reader, so I struggled a little bit with that one, but I still like the series overall. That book just was not my favorite and was honestly a little bit of a disappointment. The next book we are going to talk about is one that I think is probably going to be on so many people's best books of the years. I haven't watched them all yet. Cass, I love you. I love you. Oh. Okay. Alright. Let me talk. Cass. I know. Because it's a book that I think a lot of people are going to love, and I have seen it on a lot of people's best books of the year's list, and I'm going to chat about Divine Rivals. Now, the very reason I think this book did not work for me was I chose the wrong format to read it, and I kind of learned this about myself. If I'm going to read a romance, I prefer to listen to it. If I prefer to read a fantasy or like a other type of book, like I'll prefer to read it physically. This book was a romance. It was also a historical book, and those books I tend to really like to listen to, and I think I just chose the wrong format to read it because it read very slow, was not as quick paced. I was having a lot of issues connecting to the characters, so I'm gonna give book 2 a shot as an audiobook and see if I have better luck. But honestly, this book just bored me. I feel like it was a bit of a missed market. It definitely had subtle fantastical elements, but was definitely more historical fiction, and I feel like it was mostly because I was reading to it that it felt like a slog. So I'm gonna give book 2 a shot as an audiobook and see if I had similar feelings, but that is where I felt on that, just because I struggled with the physical reading of it. So take that review with a bit of salt, but it did bore me just a bit. The next book that I'm going to chat about is The Golden Frog Games by Claribel Ortega. I will attach a photo here. Another book that I struggled a little bit with. I just did not really feel that connected to the characters, and the story felt very like insular, so we only were really only in one character's head, and I think that hindered the story for me a little bit because the side characters were so much more interesting, and I wish we got a couple of more point of views. I really liked the Witchlings, and I thought it gave me like tournament vibes, and it was fun. This was supposed to be the Olympics. It sounded really good in concept, but the execution and the characters that we focused on just were not my favorite, so that's why this one only got 3 stars for review. And that's why it's on my disappointing reads of the year list. The next book that was on the book that I struggled a little bit with was These Twisted Bonds by Lexi Ryan. I will attach a photo here. Sequel, it was the end of a series, and honestly, I just was not the fan. I definitely preferred book 1. I struggled with the characters, I struggled with the plot, and those are 2 things that I really look for when I read. It was a slog to read. I wound up switching to the audio. A lot of these I wound up switching to the audio, And if I switch to the audio of a book when I'm physically reading it, especially a fantasy, you know I'm struggling with it, or I want to read it for a video or something, and this was just a sequel I wanted to get done. I didn't hear the best things in reviews, so maybe that colored my opinions a little bit, but I definitely prefer book 1 to the series. The next book I'm going to try about is another one that I think I actually DNF'd this book. If I didn't DNF it, I came pretty close to DNFing, and that is Unseelie. I'll touch a photo here. A fantasy book that just, I struggled to feel connected to the characters, the plot. I didn't really care. And it was just a slog to read, I'll be honest. Like, a lot of these were just slogs and they weren't as interesting. The characters weren't complicating. The world building was a bit boring and I just had a hard time with it. But again, like, I would give it a shot if the concept sounded interesting. There was really, really good, like, autism rep. Like, that was something I was so excited for. But I just didn't feel that connected to the story overall, and that is why I gave it like the 2 stars. So unfortunately for me, the writing did not work for me. It did not push me through the story. Another book is another YA fantasy book that I wanted to love, and I've actually read books by this author before and really enjoy it, and that's Castle in Our Bones. I'll touch a photo here. Another book that was like my favorite, like, 3 Dark Crowns meets, you know, Game of Thrones with political intrigue, and I just was so bored in all the characters' point of views. There was 3 triplets, and it just really was, like, not engaging. I think I finished reading this, but I was, like, so unconnected from all the characters. I wasn't that connected to any of them, so it was just really hard for me to have, like, a valid opinion. So that's why it's only got, like, 2.5 stars, and I don't know if I'm going to be continuing, but this book did not work for me. And then the next book that I struggled with was another really, really sad one, and that is Tessa Mejia is No Hero by Julie Abe. I'll touch a photo here. I normally love middle grade books, but this book I just struggled to connect to the characters. I think the concept was fun, but I didn't care about the characters, so me reading was just really, really a slog. I think I got through the whole thing. I listened to it, but it was a slog, and I don't think I felt that connected to the characters. And I love books by Julie Abe. Like, her Eva Evergreen series is one of my favorite middle grade series of all time, but this book just did not work for me, unfortunately, and that is why it's on this list. Another book I'm going to chat about is Crumbs by Diana Sterling. I will touch a photo here. Novel turned from a webtoon, and this book was just way too long. Like, I felt like if you had made like a clear, concise story that was told like regularly, like not about a webtoon, I think I would have been a lot more interesting, but the length of this just was really, really boring to me. And I just was like, oh my god, it was like a 400-page, you know, graphic novel, and I don't ever read those, and I just think it's just slog a little bit. I didn't really care about the characters, and I felt like there was a lot of pacing issues, but again, it is like a webtoon, so maybe that's what I was struggling with, but yeah, only gave it like 2.5, 3 stars. The next book I'm going to chat about is The Rosewood Hunt by Mackenzie. I'll put the photo here. And this was a book that I like wanted to love. Like, it was supposed to be Inheritance Game meets Knives Out, but the thriller element was not there. The mystery element was not there. It was more of a contemporary with thriller elements, and I just finished it. I got the audiobook, but oh my goodness, it was just so boring. That, and again, I will say, like, when I do my reset vlog, I'll talk about, you know, how I was struggling with focus this year, so maybe a lot of these were just wrong place, wrong time, but I just really, really struggled with it. And the last book I'm going to chat about, I actually still have a physical copy, so I'm going to go grab it, and then we'll round out this video, and hopefully better books are on the horizon for 2024. I am very upset about this because I love this edition so much, but I also really struggled with and did not love this Dark Descent by Kayla Josephine. The hard part is that this book had such like a fun concept, and I think that like the representation was great. This edition from Owl Crate is just so pretty, but I really struggled. I didn't feel that connected to the characters, and I felt like it was a very, very jumpy story. Like, I felt like we were in 2 point of views, but there was nothing connecting the 2 characters' storyline together, so I felt like I was jumping back and forth. But this is about a secret horse racing, and there's a bunch of magic. It also is really recruited in Jewish folklore, which I love. Well, I thought that would be so cool in theory, but the execution was a little bit lackluster for me. So that is why it's on this list. Let me know in the comments what are some of your most disappointing books of the year. Again, this is just my opinion. These books did not work for me. But hey, if these books work for you, I'm so happy. If you still want to check these books out, let me know in the comments what your reviews are. I would love to know. And I'll talk to you guys soon for my next video.